Hello everybody. In this Touchdesigner tutorial, you'd be learning about how to create such an amazing abstract art where you can say how the characters and the numeric digits are actually floating in the air based on certain set of methods. So this is one particular design that you would learn in this Touchdesigner tutorial. Then there is another variation which I've created. And in this variation, you can imagine that you are literally trying to get inside a tunnel, and that tunnel is like an endless tunnel, and which also gives you a very good perspective of how this method can be utilized to create such a beautiful art piece. All right, so let's get going with our tutorial. So first thing first, in this tutorial, we would be learning about how to use tables. So we'll actually go to Dat, and if you go to Dat, there's something called as table that you can use. Now there are multiple ways through which you can actually use this table. So you get exact dimensions where you can try the number of rows, you can define number of columns, but for this particular tutorial, we would actually want 36 rows and 2 columns. So of course, there is a way where I defined 36 rows here, and I can have 2 columns defined here. So this is one way through which I could do that. So I can also use edit button, which will open up the py file, which is a Python file, and I can try and update the numbers. So for me, in this tutorial, I want to have A to Z as characters to be shown. With characters, I also need the numeric digits to be showcased. So definitely there is a way where I can put down the index. I can go with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can go into my reference point, which is like something similar to lookup, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G kind of, right? So this is one of the way through which I can fill up my table. So by inputting all the values, this is how my table looks like. And the name that I've given is the character tables. So my first column, which is column 0, is going to be my index for the character that I would want to showcase as a part of my final design. So it's more like a lookup that we try to do. So this is one thing. However, this is just the beginning. The most important thing is about the top, a text top. So in this text top, first thing first is about the resolution. So here I won't be changing the resolution. I will just keep it as 256 by 256. One thing that we would want to use is we want to use this character table as a reference to this particular top, which is a text top. So let me go and change the name of this text top to text 0 first. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I would be using this text top as my master to produce multiple versions of this text depending on how my lookup looks like. Okay. This may sound a little complicated, but it's very easy when you actually do it. So let's go and change. So I would be using Python script. For that, I will start with the operator. So my operator name is character tables. So this is the operator that I'm trying to use. Under that, me dot digits, comma 1. So if I do that, right? So all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reference the operator character tables, and I am trying to go with me dot digits, comma 1. So it is trying to look for the very first column based on the command. Now let's just apply some cosmetic stuff. So currently the font size is 30. Let's try and increase it to the size that you are kind of comfortable with. So I will make it as 150 for now. So pretty much you can use and choose the font that you want. Now is the point where I would want to create 36 different text based on the character table. So one choice that I could use is I can go and keep on copy paste things, and I can keep on creating the text tops. But there is another better way to do it, and which is where a replicator comes in handy. So here we will be using a replicator. So let's go with replicator as our main operation. So for replicator, the one thing that you need to know is the operator prefix. So let's change this operator prefix to text. This is the first thing that we need to do. The reason that we are trying to do this text is because we would want to get everything in line with text which has been created here. So the operators which are going to get generated as a part of text will be based on this. Then what is the master operator that we are looking at here? So the master operator is this. This is the master operator whose replica that we would want to create. So let's go and put it up into master operator. Done. Now you would be wondering why the replicator has not created multiple instances. So this replicator requires a reference table which allows replicator to understand and create number of instances depending on the command, depending on the number of rows that we have defined here, right? So this character table is going to get dropped on the template dat table. The moment I drop this on template dat table, I start getting the replications coming in. So as you can see, this is where everything has started getting into replication. So the one thing that you start to see is my text 0 has got A, my text 1 has got B, 2 has C, 3 has got D, and it is actually filled up with the number of entries that I've added inside the character table. And this is how my replication has been created. So this is just one part of the story, right? So we are ready with our application. Now let's just go around and build the network based on SOP. So I will be using SOP, and it will be starting with sphere, right? Currently, we'll go with very simple thing. We'll have the radius as 1. Here it'll be very interesting. We will change primitive from mesh to the primitive one, right? Once we do that, let's go and apply the sort. So let's give a sort. Let's have no change in the point sorting methodology. And then let's go and apply the particles. So we will be using particles in this. And this particle is going to help us to produce the effect that we are looking at, right? When using particles, the first thing that we go is we have number of birth is nothing but number of particles which is going to get generated as a part of this. And then the life expectancy of every particle is 3 seconds. All right, so we will be using particle in this particular instance. And once the particle comes in, we apply it as a null. So as we can see, by having primitive, it doesn't produce any particles. So we go to sphere and we change the primitive type from primitive to polygon. The moment we make it as a polygon, we start to see the particles starting to spread from it, right? So we get to say the particles started to spread out. We'll apply a couple of operations, but for now, let's make this network to be very simple. So this is my particle, but this is not done yet. The main network is going to be very simple, where I'm using rectangle. And this rectangle size, I will make it as 0.3 by 0.3. Then I apply it to null. Now I apply this null to geometry. Let's have camera. Let's give material to this geometry. I will be using constants because it's just going to be very simple stuff that I'm going to design. Let's finish the network first by using render. Let's give render. We can make it as 1280 by 720. Let's give a null, and let's give RGB key, and let's make it as an output, right? So once this is done, let's go to camera, and the z-axis we can change it to 10. So this is still looking better. Now what I do is I go to geometry, and then we have instances. Let's enable the instances. By enabling the instances, we definitely have this particular SOP, which we could do an instance on. So let's go and apply SOP to chop. So the moment I do SOP to chop, this is where my particles are being streamed. And you can see we have 1 to 301. So in total, we have got 300 particles created as a part of the whole operations. So the simplest thing that we do is we are going to use this SOP to chop to produce the instance in. So for that to happen, I'm using null for just for the instancing. So let's go and apply the default instance operation as the null for. Let's go and apply tx, ty, and tz. So definitely this is something that we are looking at. Now let's make it a little creative. Let's go and apply a noise between the sphere and the sort. By applying the noise, we can see there is a movement happening. So we can increase the amplitude of the noise to make particles look something really cool. Let's go and reduce the size of this rectangle so it looks nicer. So this turns out to be okay. Now you would be wondering when exactly I get to apply the characters on this particular rectangle. So let's go and have a pattern chop. So I will be using pattern chop, and for this I need to identify how many number of alphabets and numerics that I would want to bring in as a part of my pattern chop, right? So as we can see, I have got 36 items. So it's starting from 0 to 36. So it's going to be 37. So let's go to pattern. The first thing that I would do is the ramp. And now you can see there are 1 to 1001 length of this particular pattern. Let me change the length from 0 to 36. So now you can say we have got total number of 36 length, right? Now I will be using this and merging it with the existing SOP that I have. So let's go and use the merge operator, and let's apply. So I would be making this chan1. I'll rename the pattern chan1 to texture, right? I will make it as texture, and let's merge it. So by merging it, you automatically get to see that my 36 length pattern has now been synced to 300 samples, which is basically based on the SOP. So this is very important operation that we perform at this stage. Since I've got all the important stuff available, all I need to do is I go to Geo, and then there is something called as instance texture. Now in this instance texture, in this instance texture, I will be using this master operator. So by putting this master operator, I can see that it has started to come up very well, right? But we need all the characters. It's not just that we are looking for A, right? So there is something which is missing. So there is something called as the texture index. So here I can make it as text and I can make it as star. And here the index is going to be the texture. All right. So what I would be using is I go to texture and then I make it as length 37, then number of cycle as 10, and then I put step per cycle as 2.3. By doing that, I can get to see the number of the various digits and everything that I would want to try and apply it. So you would be wondering that there is an issue with the transparency. So that transparency can be removed by clicking on transparency and make it to alpha converge. By doing that, we actually get to see that all of these are turning out to be transparent, and which is what we are looking for at this point of time. So pretty much we are getting there, and we can see how well our network is coming up, and it's just that we need to apply some effects. So to make it so moving, so first thing that we can try and do is let's increase the particles from 100 to 200. Now let's try and use a noise chop. This noise chop can be used. So instead of this waveform, let's go and make it as time slice. Let's use the channel as TX and TY. And let's increase the period to around 3 seconds for now, just to compare and just to see how well things are going to turn out to be. And we will be using TX and TY to apply little bit of wind to our parent op. So by doing that, we easily get to see some sort of movement. And this is where we can see some of the word movement started to come in. If you would want to see a little bit of increase in the movement of these words, we can increase the amplitude of it, and then we can get some better results too. So at this stage, we are just working on the wind of particle, right? Now let's try and make a little more adjustment to this. So now let's apply some more effects to it. We'll change the radius of the sphere to 2. So by making it 2, you automatically get to see that effect coming in. Now let's go to noise. Let's increase the let's reduce the period from 3 to 1.5. And by making it 1.5, we automatically get to see a lot of change coming in. So we have more frequent patterns coming in, right? The other thing that we can try and do is let's play with the camera. So for that to happen, I will be changing the camera's Z position. So I'm using LFO. Now this LFO can be, so I'm going to have the amplitude as 6, and my offset is going to be 4. The frequency, I will make it as 0.012 for now, and we can check how well the frequency turns out to be. And let's use this. Let's make it as Gaussian, so it doesn't go into the negative side. Let's use this and apply it to the z-axis, and now we get to see the effect that we were actually aiming to get it. So this is where we can get to see how the text is just floating in front of the camera. There's something more that we can try is we definitely have an option of playing with the z-axis of noise. So let's apply TZ. And we would be using this TZ to change the Z position of the particles. So by having that, we see more movement coming in. The other thing that we may want to give a try and change is the life expectancy of the particles. So instead of 3, let's make it as 6 seconds. So we see particles for more duration. The other thing that we may want to give a try is play around a little bit with the camera's x-axis and y-axis. So we can use the existing noise. Let's try and use the TX from the noise and change the X position of it. Now we can see the movement looks very jittery. So let's not use this. We can actually go with one more noise. And this noise is specifically designed for the camera's position. So the first thing that we would want to go and do is make the period as maximum around 4 so that the movement is not that big. Let's change it to time slice. We have added TX and TY, so we can see there's a little bit of difference coming in. Now let's apply this to the position of camera. So let's go with TX, and by having that done, we anyways get to see a beautiful cloud of alphanumeric characters coming in. So this is definitely something that we look forward to. The other thing that we may want to give a try is let's reduce the noise. We can change the amplitude to 0.5 so the movement is not that big, but still it is still subtle and still gives a very good view that we are looking at. So this is something which can be easily created by using the concept of Replicator. There is still a lot that can be done. We have the sphere. The position of that sphere can also be changed by the noise. So let's try and use the same noise that we have used for particles, and let's change the position of it. So again, we want to make it very subtle. So let's give it a try and see how well it is coming out. So yes, the TX position, by changing it, it's producing really nice result. And this is where some of the best artwork can be created. So this is one thing that I wanted to showcase. I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's make something really, really creative. Now, in this particular tutorial, we would want to replicate how to create this tunnel effect. And of course, we are using Replicator here. So we would try and recreate this tunnel effect. So let's give it a try and see how that tunnel can be created, right? So let me turn off the background first so it becomes very clean and clear for us. For tunnel to happen, the first thing that I would use is the circle SOP. And circle SOP is going to be important. I will make it as open arc. So I have the circle here. The other thing that I would want to do is I'll use transform. This will be very useful later on, but I'm just going to park it for now. Then I will be using copy. And this copy will actually help me to produce that tunnel type of effect, which is kind of a perspective that I would want to showcase. So let's go and make the number of copies as 5 for now, right? And I would want to play around with the z-axis. So I will go and change it as and I want it. So as and when I change it, I get to see that level of effect. So I'm going with z-axis of 0.5. Let's say if I increase it to 10, I see more number of circles. So number of circles are going to be 10. And this is how my z-axis is actually helping me out. I can also change the uniform scale. This scale can be reduced, and I can make it as 0.9 to make it look really nicer. And then I can play with the translate to make it perfect. So yeah, for now we can use this. Of course, we have sort. So let's use sort. And then let's use the existing parameter, existing network that we have created. I will go and change it to this one. And let us see how well the output is turning out to be. So you can have a look that it's coming out to be nicer. The other thing that we may want to give a try is how do I make sure that it's kind of giving me a tunnel look. So let's find out from copy and check how the rings are created. So the rings have been created like this. So you can see in the output viewer that it's like a funnel which has been created through this copy operation. But still, we are not meeting the actual output that I would want to go around with, right? So for that to happen, we have so many number of points. So you can see there are 410 points that we have created. But the particle has only 200 points. So we are pretty much not able to get through the whole tunnel look that we want to create. So we definitely have to have more number of points coming in. So that can be resolved by increasing the number of birth particles. So I will make it as 1000 for now. By making it 1000, it's helping me for now, but I would still want to create a different look. And for that to happen, let's increase the radius. And by increasing the radius, I can get to see a little bit of tunnel effect that I wanted to get. So the one thing that we want to do is let's go and disable all the movements for the camera. So at least we know where we are. Now here we will be using the noise, but with this noise we want to play around with the Z position of the particles. So we will be using the TZ to create that look where the particles are moving endlessly. So here I will be using the force, and you can see the TZ has been used, and I'll be multiplying with 10. So by doing multiplication with the 10, I pretty much get that tunnel feel that I was actually looking for. So now we might just want to take our camera little far. So currently it's sitting at 10. Let's take it to 11. So it's still in a better way. So I still get that tunnel feel. Now the other thing that we would want to do is the particles are dying early. So let's go and change the life expectancy of particle from 6 to 10. So this gives more time for particle to sustain. So now you can see it's kind of working in a tandem that we were looking for. Let's go and remove the noise for now. So that's pretty much can be contained. The other thing that we may want to do is let's go to particle and let's increase the force to around 15. So by doing 15, still our camera is going back and forth. Let's use an operation called as ABS. So we only get a positive side. So by doing that, we get that tunnel feel. So you constantly feel like you're getting inside that tunnel endlessly and the tunnel is not finishing. Well, so you can pretty much get a tunnel feel. So there's other thing that you could do is we can use copy. The number of copies that we are using is 10. We can increase it to 13, and it will give more particular look of tunnel. So you can see about that. If the particles are more, you can go and change the number of particles. Currently, it's sitting at 1,000. We can reduce it, or you can do anything that you like. The other thing that we can do is we can try and change the amplitude of the noise, and it can give some better result as well. So this is one that you definitely can create it easily, and it produces a really wonderful effect of you're moving inside a tunnel. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned a lot about how to use Replicator. We'll definitely come back with a new tutorial, and please subscribe to my channel. Please do comment. Those are like token of appreciation for me, and it really brings a lot of big smile on my face. And yeah, I hope to see you soon with some more tutorials. Well, thank you for watching, and goodbye for now from Sydney. Bye.